The unit comes pretty much all assembled, but it does require some assembly. And that assembly instructions are in the operator's manual. This operator's manual comes with a hard copy, and then there's also a digital copy. It's really important to read the manual. When we start out, we're going to be starting out going over the checklist. The system comes with a Perioscopy system setup checklist. And the good thing about this is that if doctors are using it, typically an assistant is going to be using this checklist. Most of the time, hygienists will be doing this setup themselves. So the first thing on the checklist is to plug in the unit, and we have the unit plugged in. You fill the water bottle and you attach it to this regulator, and this is what we call the regulator. And this is a water bottle that's not unlike the water bottles that are found in most dental offices. So you attach the water bottle, and there's an on and off switch here that you flip. You can hear the air pressure going, and you turn it on. This is a water bottle, but it's driven by air pressure, and it requires an air quick connect. And these air quick connects are very standard for air and water. Most offices have the same quick connect for air and for water, so it's important that you do not hook the air quick connect to a water line. Some offices have a large bore air quick connect so that they can be distinguished between the air and the water, and so you don't make a mistake, because you can't plug in this say if it's a water quick connect into the air line. But if your operatories are like that, you will need to have an adapter, because the perioscopy system comes with a smaller quick connect. So we've attached the water bottle, we flip the switch to on, and then you need to check the air pressure. And the air pressure is indicated on this air pressure dial. It should be set at 60. One of the things I want to show you too is that there's an air pressure regulator knob. And if you need to change the air pressure, you can change it with this knob here. This knob does have a lock washer. And sometimes that lock washer, well, if it's locked, it prevents you from being able to adjust this. So a lot of times the unit will come and this will be locked. You need to take some pliers and unlock it, adjust it, and then I would just hand tighten that lock nut. Okay, next on the checklist is check the water flow before attaching the sheath. So there is an air activated pedal for the water. Got the water hooked up. Okay, so that's plenty of water coming through. Attach the perioscopy fiber. We have, in our office, we keep the fiber attached. But just to show you what that looks like, the fibers come in a box, and some offices will want to take the fiber on and off, but I don't recommend doing that, because it's another thing that you have to do each time. And although when we're using these fibers, normally what we do is we put the date on the fiber so we get an idea of how long these last. You can also count the uses of the fiber if you and maybe you can have a little checklist or something that shows. Some offices do that. They document each use of the fiber so they know how many uses. We expect you to get at least 50 uses out of this fiber, but sometimes they'll wear, or if you pull on them, sometimes they'll break. Turn on the controller. So we're going to turn on the controller. It has an on and off switch. This is a kind of an international symbol. The on is a little line and the off is like an O for off. And then we're also going to turn on the monitor. This particular monitor has a button because it's an older monitor. The monitors that come now have a touch screen, and all of the settings are set in there, so you shouldn't have to make any adjustments to the settings. Next on the checklist, turn on the controller and the monitor, and as needed, check the focus. And we like to check the focus with the orange protective sleeve on because it allows you to see the edge of the image. And this unit, this is where the camera is located, this is where the light source is located, and actually this handle is a medical endoscope that a physician would use and clip various probes to this to work on things like knees and shoulders. But it does have a focus knob. So the focus knob can be turned so that you have a nice sharp outline. And normally, if you set that focus, you don't have to reset the focus. Next on the checklist is carefully remove the orange protective sleeve. This has a Luer connection that just unscrews. And generally what we do is we just put this to the side, or sometimes our assistants will just loop it around and just let it hang. For now, I'm just going to loop this and put it to the side. This particular fiber is 1 meter long and 1 millimeter in diameter. Inside this 1 millimeter diameter are 19 light guides. Inside those light guides are very small, and you can barely see the outlines of them, very small 2-micron mirror tubes. So you can look at things like, these are my fingertips. This is my shirt. You can also look at some text to see if you're in focus. So, on the controller box, it has a window setting, a gain control setting, and a white balance setting. This is also an illumination setting, so as this fiber gets older, you may need to increase the illumination. Although one of the things that happens with this illumination knob is that if the illumination's too high, the camera in here will adjust it anyway. Okay, so we're gonna, first thing it says is confirm the window is set at 6. So I'm gonna press the window button, and you can see it says window 6. But for example, say you press it another time, it may go to integral. Then you keep pressing, and this window becomes smaller and smaller until you get to 6. There's also a gain control setting, which is a brightness and contrast setting, and those are explained in the operator's manual, and then there's also a separate instructions for use for the controller that comes with this system. So I'm going to look at the gain control. The gain control has 3 different settings. It should be set at 00 dB, but you need to confirm that each time you use this. So because it could be on 10 dB, or it could be on 12 dB, but you want it on 00 dB for the best image for perioscopy. Then also, the last thing we do is set the white balance. And what you do is you take the end of the fiber and you put it on this green chip, or you can put it on the frame of the monitor, either one. But this particular color gives you the correct color set. So I press the button. When I release the button, it says OK, and then I'm OK. Say, for example, if I set the white balance on my black shirt, the coloration is totally different then if I set it on this green chip, the coloration is more lifelike. That's my fingertip or fingerprint. This fiber does not need to be cleaned because we're putting a sterile sheath over the fiber. However, if you end up cleaning this with certain products, it can end up affecting the clarity of the lens at the end. And that becomes an issue sometimes, and it's not real easy to get that to come off. So if you're going to clean this at all, just use alcohol. Okay, so we've checked our image without the perioscopy sheath. Then you carefully attach the perioscopy sheath. These sheaths come in boxes of 5, and that's the minimum purchase of these. Then based upon the price point, the more boxes you buy, the lower the cost. The sheaths are single-use sterile sheaths. And they also have a label with a lot number. It's important that you keep this throughout the procedure, because if you have a problem with the sheath, you're going to want to send it back to Danville Materials for credit on your next purchase of sheaths. And then you can also document the problem and look to see if there are trends in some of these problems, but they rarely have problems with these. Probably the most common problem is that as you're putting the fiber into the sheath, it may get stuck near the end, and you don't want to really push it or force it. However, that doesn't happen very often. For purposes of demonstration, for this bench training, I have a demo sheath. We're not going to be hooking up the water to this, but actually I'll hook it up because that's part of the checklist. So what you do is you take the fiber, you put it in the fiber tube, which is the clear tube, and you just gently push that until it goes to the end, and then you hook it to the Luer connection. Then you can also hook the water to the Luer connection. Attach the sheath to the water tube, and then check the water. The water should be streaming out like that. Okay, so then you attach what we call the sheath fiber complex to the first Explorer. Let me go over this the sheath a little bit. The sheath has 2 tubes, a fiber tube and a water tube. It also has this small plastic end we call a tip seal, and then the metal end we call a window cell, or you can call it a metal cannula. The metal cannula has a bonded sapphire lens at the end, and that totally isolates the fiber from the oral environment.